Greetings, travelers, and welcome to another DracoBreach E3 review. E3 2017 was another interesting mix. There was good to be seen, there was plenty of bad. I don't even want to talk about the ugly, but I will. This year we also got some notable wait, what moments. I'll discuss each conference in order and how I felt games or systems were delivered to their audience. First up was Electronic Arts. EA decided to double down on their esports with an opening drum line. With drums pounding, Madden 18 was officially unveiled. Like almost everything at their conference, it was developed in Frostbite. It also finally has a story mode titled Longshot. EA then made a non-announcement by talking about their Star Wars Battlefront. Apparently they've taken fan feedback to heart, then they promise more later. They immediately launched into Call of Duty Battlefield to announce DLC. They specifically touted new night maps and an expansion titled In the Name of the Tsar, adding the Eastern Front to Call of Duty. They promised more multiplayer modes to be announced at Gamescom. They also had a YouTuber segment that felt kinda weird. I really don't know how else to describe it. Then they showed FIFA 18 and its story mode, The Journey. I think they had some actual football hosts on stage. I don't know. They seem to be there to announce motion capture leg movements or some such. Anyway, next up, EA gave Need for Speed Payback a chance to shine. I think this is a remake. I'm not 100% sure there. It also appears to have online multiplayer. The gameplay demonstration had a highway heist that quickly went south with a crazy truck driver. Also, cars have HP bars now. Okay. And there was lots of slow motion and lots of destruction in the trailer. Moving on from destructible cars, EA showed off a spiritual successor to Brothers. I never cared for that game. I am terribly sorry. I can't remember the rest of the title, and I had it written down somewhere. Not in my script. Anyway. The successor is called A Way Out. It's about two complete strangers helping each other break out of prison for reasons. It is still co-op and It is co-op and split screen only, which kinda disinterested me. So there's that. Anyway, EA then announced a new BioWare IP after talking about Project Scorpio specs, and promised more details at the Microsoft presser. Okay. Anyway, NBA Live 18 and The One story mode were unveiled. There's a free demo available in August, and I have to wonder why they have to specify that the demo is free. Anyway, your progress does carry over, so that's cool for any fans of the series. The final half hour of EA's presser was dedicated to Star Wars Battlefront 2. This is where they showcased how they listen to fans. Apparently they invited the best players on YouTube to help develop the game. I'll outline some of the changes real quick here. New essential single-player story campaign. Battle points replace pickup tokens for heroes and vehicles. BP are earned primarily by completing objectives. BP is also earned by kills. There are seasons of free DLC. All or some will be free, I don't know, to add heroes, vehicles, and maps. The first free DLC season will include Heroes, Finn, and Phasma. Overall, EA did a decent job. They weren't great, but they were far from abysmal. They showed off very little that I personally liked, and their genre offering was very sparse. Perhaps the worst offense is that the single-player focused action-adventure Star Wars game that they promised last year was a no-show. I'm going to give them a C-. Microsoft promised a new, powerful system, and oh boy, I don't know where to begin. Let's start with the ugly. It's called the Xbox One X. The potential for consumer confusion is sky high on this one. Tell me if you can tell the difference here. Xbox One S, Xbox One X. In terms of name, it may actually be worse than the Wii U. Anyway, the standard console is $250, and the Extreme console is $500. The price tag is rather steep, and it launches November 7th. Its biggest selling point is its power, and that is likely to be its biggest downfall as well. A custom gaming PC boasts better specs for a similar price. At least it's small, I guess. Besides padding on the specs, they also bragged about craftsmanship. I really couldn't help but remember the red ring of death on the Xbox 360. Anyway, announcements. I'd like to remind everybody that all announced games for the Xbox One and Windows 10. The games were also announced rapid fire, some with very few details. Microsoft started game announcements with Forza 7. Then they had a live car show, because this is totally not a gaming expo. Regardless, the game actually has dynamic road conditions that are affected by weather and other drivers, like grease and oil and rubber off the tires, stuff like that. It launches October 3rd. They announced Metro Exodus, but I didn't really get a sense for the game. Is it open world? Anyway, next up was Assassin's Creed Origins. It's an origin story, if you couldn't tell by the title. It takes place in ancient Egypt, and it looks pretty good. I mean, I'm not a fan of Assassin's Creed, but I can tell that they have really looked at what makes Assassin's Creed an Assassin's Creed game and gone with it. Anyway, you have a bird that acts to act as your scout, and it also takes elements from, surprisingly, The Legend of Zelda Breath of the Wild, where it has slow down when you're jumping and pulling out your bow, as well as with shield parries. I don't remember either of those elements being in previous Assassin's Creeds. Anyway, PlayerUnknown Battlegrounds is now coming to Xbox One. Okay. Next up was a horde battler called Deep Rock Galactic. You mine cooperatively. Looks interesting, not my type of game. Microsoft then announced State of Decay 2. And unlike State of Decay, the original game, this announcement actually had details. It's a survival horror zombie apocalypse game. It's cooperative, I think. You have base building, and you can cure people if you catch it early enough. Though the cure, like other supplies, is in limited supply. Next up was the Darwin Project. My notes eloquently states just how much information was given. What? This is somewhat recurring, sadly. Okay. The obligatory Minecraft announcement was made. I have it labeled as Unified Minecraft, but I don't know if that's its true name. They finally have true crossplay with every platform except PlayStation, and Sony's excuse for that was stupid. A new fighter called Dragon Ball FighterZ was shown off, and it really looks great. They use some new texturing techniques to make 3D models look like they're from the anime, and that is actually pretty cool. It also allows for 3v3 fighting. Black Desert was announced, and it's an MMORPG for Xbox. Next up was The Last Night, which is a pixel art shooter. Then Code Vein, an action RPG. They showcased Sea of Thieves, which is online only, and I kind of lost interest in the game. It does look okay, but I kind of need single-player experiences. The addition of multiplayer is just that to me. It's a bonus, an addition, whatever you want to call it. Anyway, they then moved on to Tacoma. It's an August 2nd launch with no information. Next up, Super Lucky's Tale. Looks like it could be a good 3D platformer. It stars a fox as the protagonist, and it launches on November 7th. Cuphead got a launch date for September 29th. Crackdown 3 was announced with a September 7th launch. And pardon me if I go through these announcements rather quickly. Like I said, they were kind of rapid fire, and not a lot of details were given on a lot of them. And some of them I don't care about, like Crackdown. A short sizzle reel showed off Osiris Raiders, Unruly Heroes, Path of Exile, Battle Rights, Surviving Mars, Fable Fortune, Observer, Robocraft, Dunk Lords, Neon Masters, Brawlout, Ooblets, Dark and Light, Strange Brigade, Riverbond, Hello Neighbor, Shift, and Conan Exiles. And literally, they gave the names a half-second of footage and moved on. I was pausing a lot here. Then they announced Ashen. What? Then a prequel titled Life is Strange Before the Storm. Didn't care for the first game. In my opinion, the best two Microsoft announcements were next. They showcased Middle-earth Shadow of War and announced Ori and the Will of the Wisps. They both look excellent, and I'll pick them up on Steam. I love the idea of building an army in Mordor. Xbox One will add original Xbox compatibility sometime in 2017. Some Xbox One games will receive 4K updates. They did not specify if all would be free or some would require payment. They showcased Anthem from BioWare, and those facial animations looked atrocious. Nobody has that many lines or wrinkles in their face, and something was just off about their hair. Still, the environments and Javelin suits look good. Overall, Microsoft had a lot of solid announcements. They missed with the Xbox One X name. The car show was stupid, and details on a lot of games were sparse, but they showed some dedication to gamers. C+. Then Bethesda. I'll spare you the details. They were the worst conference this year. Still, they did announce a few new things. Their new announcements in order were Dishonored, Death of the Outsider on August 15th, Quake Champions this year, The Evil Within 2 on October 13th, and Wolfenstein 2 The New Colossus on October 27th. With heavy reliance on old games, little innovation, and an attempt to reintroduce paid mods, they were an ugly this year, and I give them a D-. When Ubisoft came on stage, I jokingly thought Nintendo won before even holding their spotlight in Treehouse. And that's how good Mario plus Rabbids Kingdom Battle looks. Ubisoft invited Miyamoto and Bill Trinen on stage, and the crowd went wild. In fact, they were the loudest I've heard all E3. Interestingly, Mario plus Rabbids is an XCOM-like cover-based shooter. Plus, the creative director obviously has a passion in the project, and Grant Kirkhope is composing. Both had a lifelong dream to work on a Mario game. I could talk about this game for a long while. It is the single longest section of my notes. It launches on August 29th, and I am both surprised and happy to say that I will be picking this one up. I also love how the trailer ends with Mario giving a, "I don't know what this is, but it's happening" look. Ubisoft had more Assassin's Creed Origins. They announced The Crew 2 and apparently listened to fans' feedback to make it better. They gave an October 17 date to South Park: The Fractured But Whole. And they announced a VR movie game something called Transference. They announced Skull and Bones, which is a lot like Sea of Thieves from Microsoft, except prettier. But it's basically Assassin's Creed Black Flag without the assassins. They mentioned solo and co-op play, but it appears to be an online multiplayer-only game, so I'm a little confused there. It has multiple classes of ships, and it has boss monsters like the Kraken. Just Dance 2018 launches in October. A South Park mobile game called Phone Destroyer comes out soon. And then they announced Starlink, Battle for Atlas, and it looks interesting. It will come to all consoles, and it uses an attachment on the controller with a figurine. You can buy physical parts for the figurine to add those parts into the game, or you can find those parts in the game world. And I love that idea that yes, you can buy the parts, but you can find them too. Good on you, Ubisoft. I think I want this game. A steep expansion called Road to the Olympics is launching on December 5th. Far Cry 5 was announced, and it's a crew-based shooter. I can't really tell if it's multiplayer only or not. Knowing Far Cry, probably isn't. Anyway, Ubisoft finally unveiled Beyond Good and Evil 2 with a CGI trailer. It's a prequel taking place well before the first game. And I have some minor complaints about that, but that's beside the point. Anyway, overall, Ubisoft was pretty good. They were fast-paced and showed off a lot of good games. It helped that they started with a passion project and ended with potential. B+. Next up was Sony, and they opened up with some technical problems. and the technical problems lasted through the first 2.5 trailers. First, they showed off Uncharted: The Lost Legacy with 2 female protagonists. I'm not a fan of Uncharted, so I couldn't tell you much about this trailer, especially since I couldn't hear any of it. Next, they announced Horizon Zero Dawn: The Frozen Wilds, an expansion that will come out later this year, and I am actually looking forward to that. Like I have stated, I like Horizon Zero Dawn. I do have some minor problems with that, and that's why I am going to be releasing a review of it soon. I don't know when. Hopefully before the Frozen Wilds. Anyway, then they showcased Days Gone. It's an open-world action-adventure game with stealth and zombies. Some have fairly compared it to Horizon Zero Dawn. At least we finally know what to expect from this game, and I'm interested. Sony then spent several minutes backpatting while promising only game announcements. Okay, we wasted a little bit of time there, Sony. Regardless, they announced the return of storied franchise to a Sony platform with Monster Hunter World. And the audience couldn't have cared less. They were dead silent. Anyway, still Sony then showed off Shadow of the Colossus, and I don't know if this is a remake or a new game. If there's a fan out there, feel free to tell me. Next up was Marvel vs. Capcom Infinite, and the animation and textures looked awful. Oh my goodness, I could not believe that. I've heard that people who played it on the show floor thought that it felt good, but it looked awful in that trailer. Anyway, Call of Duty World War II was announced for November 3rd, and it covers multiple fronts. Next was a VR segment. Skipping. They showcased God of War 4, and now I'm less sure of it. They showed Kratos and Kid gameplay, and it's starting to look more like the older games. Fans, feel free to rejoice. I'm just not personally interested in the original God of War trilogy. Then they showcased Detroit Become Human, and it still appears to be a QTE game. Destiny 2 was next, and Sony promised exclusive content. Okay. Still, my favorite game at this presser was Spider-Man for PS4. It looks good, but I don't recognize the spider suit design. Is it new? I like the stealth, trap, and combat gameplay, and it looks to take cues from Spider-Man 2 from the PS2, GameCube, and Xbox. If the showcase is anything to go by, Spidey is working with the police too, so that ought to be interesting. Overall, Sony was pretty solid. They did waste time on backpatting, and the VR segment was predictably dull. I liked some of what I saw, and I really only felt like skipping a little bit of it. It wasn't as strong as Ubisoft, but it was definitely in line with Microsoft. C+. Surprisingly, Nintendo had already started strong with the Ubisoft presser. All they really needed to do was buckle down and show off why people needed the Switch. Their showcase promised to be short, so they needed to pack it full. Therefore, they started off with a sizzle reel that works really well as a commercial. They showed known games like ARMS, Pokken Tournament, and FIFA 18, and Splatoon 2. However, Rocket League was a surprise showing in that short reel. Reggie opened up with some philosophy because why not? Then an extended story trailer for Xenoblade Chronicles 2 with English voices. That promised holiday 2017 is looking more and more likely. Then Nintendo fired off with some rapid-fire announcements. The next Kirby game was revealed with some gameplay and a 2018 window. The Pokemon company reminded everybody that Pokken Tournament is coming soon to Switch, before the bombshell announcement of a core Pokemon RPG was officially given credence. Then they showed a splash card for the title of the very next Metroid Prime 4. And the world went silent. There are no details on this game except that it's not being produced by Retro. That was a bit of a surprise. With some mood whiplash, they then went to the next Yoshi game, which was announced with gameplay and a 2018 window. It looks cute. I really like the Yoshi game more than the Kirby game that they showed, but anyway, moving on. Fire Emblem Warriors showed how characters might interact. It promises Fire Emblem-like leveling system as well as the ability for units to pair up. Then Aonuma showed up and he reminded us of Skyrim. Then he detailed specifics about the DLC Pack 1, the Master Trials, showing off the armor, the masks, and the Trial of the Sword, which apparently the interwebs decided to say, hey, that looks like Eventide Island, so my blind playthrough is just that much less blind. Anyway, regardless, moving on. Then they teased DLC Pack 2, titled The Champion's Ballad, and introduced amiibo for each champion. Nintendo quickly showcased Mario plus Rabids before moving on to the official announcement of Rocket League. They'll have exclusive customization options like Mario and Luigi hats, as well as undisclosed vehicles. Exclusive to the Switch, Rocket League will also have local multiplayer, and it will launch holiday of this year. Then Nintendo surprised and delighted with Mario jumping out of a Tyrannosaurus Rex. The extended gameplay and story trailer introduced the main mechanic of Super Mario Odyssey, the ability to capture certain enemies, objects, and creatures with Mario's partner, Cappy. Also, Mayor Pauline is a thing, and she sang the theme song. Overall, Nintendo did what they needed to do. They concentrated on the Switch and iterated why people should buy it. They announced several big surprises and kept interest up throughout. Treehouse helped with 3DS announcements including Metroid, The Return of Samus, and Sushido. It wasn't their best showcase, but their E3 format really works. I'm willing to give them an A-. Overall, I really think E3 was great this year. Not as good as last year or 2 years ago necessarily, but you can't always have the best of the best of the best. Still, what do you guys think? What are you excited for? I think you heard what I was excited for, and things may change. Also, Ni no Kuni 2 was given a release date during E3. I don't know what that date is. I have to look it up. At this point, I'm still trying to catch up with everything because things have just been a little bit crazy. Regardless, hopefully this will mark the return of Xenoblade Chronicles X on my channel because I want to get affinities up, I want to get levels up, and I want to show some more of the quests that are after the main story of the game. Still, for the time being, this will be DracoBreach reporting out. God bless and safe travels.
Is anyone hurt? What a blessing.